Dreaming with Spencer, Sewing with Spencer. All right. I am making a blanket for my sweet little puppy dog, Spencer. And I'm calling this Sewing with Spencer because he's always right in the middle of everything. And you can't, nothing doing right there, but let me see. Oh, where is he? Can you see him? Is he under there? Spencer. Aha, there he is. He's under the table, laying on the tail end of what I'm going to be trying to work on, which means that he's going to have to move when I get started. Well, at any rate, here's the deal. My mom was a quilter, big-time quilter. Over her lifetime, she probably made hundreds of quilts that she gave most of them away to family and friends, which is great. That's what they're for. But she passed away in 2019 and left behind a lot of incomplete quilts. And so I have been looking for ways to use them, since I am not a quilter, certainly not a hand quilter like she was. So I decided to make a blanket for Spencer, since he likes laying on these things so much. I took one of the ones that honestly I thought was just too busy to look at. It was too bright and too colorful and too whatever to be on my bed. So I cut it in half to make a twin size out of the queen. And now I'm going to see if I can't put it together. I put the backing in there. There's the front, there's the batting, and then I'm using this old sheet, reuse, recycle, no waste, to make the backing, because it's 100% cotton and it's nice and soft, and so it'll wash up great. But now I have to cut. This is too big, the backing is too big. So I need to get it down to the same size as my quilt. So I'm going to cut it, and the easiest way to do this here, some fabrics it works, some it won't, but you can just tear it straight across, and you will get a straight line across it. It doesn't go crooked, it doesn't leave scissor marks or any of that sort of thing. So now you have pretty close to exactly what I need. I have to cut this down to size because I want to fold this part over onto the back so it'll look sort of like that when it's finished. Can you see that? My hand's in the way. So it'll look like that. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that very well, but anyway, the first part is to get things sized properly, which it is not. So you have to cut some of the batting down. There's too much of it. It's too long. So, and you can't tear the batting like you can the sheet that I'm using for the backing. I have to be careful so that I don't cut the front part of my quilt and wind up having to do some kind of a patch job on it. Oh, I'm going to cut it across like this. Yeah, on the way. This is one of those projects that is more of an experiment than it is a sure thing. It may or may not turn out looking like anything, but I don't think Spencer's going to care. It'll be his, and as you saw from the shot earlier, he's already laying on it, so he doesn't care. Down, there we go, all right. Now that's pretty even there, but you've got to get a little bit more of the back off of it. It's not perfectly straight. The quilt itself is not perfectly straight, because I'll tell you something about hand quilting. Are you on down there? Aha, you can pull it up. About hand quilting is that Look, you see it, you can tell the squares are not all exactly the same size because they were done by hand. And so that means that your quilt is not going to be perfectly square or a perfect rectangle, as the case may be here. So we'll have to make adjustments as we go, because as you can see, even though I tore that straight across, there's still more there than there is of the front side, so I have to tidy that up a little bit. So let me float back over my work table like so. And, you know, I can't see if anybody out there is paying any attention or listening or watching or whatnot. So I'm just going to talk to myself, mostly, I suppose. Can't see anything. Besides, this will be my first real stream, so I guess I shouldn't expect too much in terms of... Okay, okay, I think that's going to work out. Pull that. And that's pulling it. Oh yeah, it's leaving me just about 3/4 to an inch to fold over, which is what I want. To fold that over. Because I need to fold it down once like that. One time down. And then second time down over the backing. Something like that. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard. Probably kind of hard to see far away. But we have to do this all the way around and get everything ready to actually start stitching. But I think I'm going to use some handy dandy pins just to kind of make sure it's going to stay in place while I'm moving it around so much. Just going to pin it across here so that what I've already done will stay put while I manipulate the rest of it. Like I said, I'm not a quilter. The quilting, quote unquote, will be done on a sewing machine. So the front of it, all the quilting work's going to be done by machine rather than by hand. Because I don't have the patience that my mother did. She was a very patient lady. And she had to have something to do with her hands at all times. And so it didn't matter if she was watching her favorite movies or TV or whatever. If she was sitting down, there was something in her hands to do. So I don't inherit that trait from her. I do like to have something to do pretty much all the time. But when I sit down to relax, that's it. I'm not going to have something in my hands that I'm working on. I used to embroider when I was much younger. I used to do some embroidery. That's kind of something that's very passe now. I don't know if does anybody still embroider. Is there anybody out there who does embroidery? I think embroidery is beautiful, but the patience it takes, whew, it's insane. I'm getting fairly close here, I think, to what I need. It's not really all that critical because, as I said, one, it's for the dog. And two, oh good, he's not on it. I can freely move it, pull it as I need to work on it. I don't know, it seems like I'm probably getting in the way of myself here. How are you going to see when my arms are in the way all the time? Huh, Spencer, what do you say, baby? I'm getting up. You going to get down there on some of it? Okay. Stay up there. Here we go. Cut, pull, cut. Oh, good. I'm almost at the end of it. Nice. Okay. Maybe I should work from the other side of the table. Get on the back side, and then I won't be blocking anything. That's probably a good idea. So finish that cut. Getting on the other side of the table is no easy feat, though, because my sewing room is quite full. I have added this and that and the other until it's full of stuff, full of places to work. Oh, let's see here. What do we got? am going to see if I can squeeze myself back there. Pull the ironing board out. Right here. Oh, there we go. Success. Now what did I do with my scissors? I don't know. Oh, there they are. Okay, one side down, that end is cut. So let me get down here and cut this other end of it. Oh dear, now you can see me. I was trying to stay hidden, so you couldn't see me. Oh well, sooner or later, you would have discovered that I am not so young anymore. I'm not sure what I call myself. I don't like to be referred to as elderly. It has such a old connotation to it. I'll just say that I am old. And I am older than streaming. I've been around longer than streaming. Let's see. I have been around before the internet even existed. I was around. And I was around before Microsoft ever thought about getting in the garage and building a home computer. Or maybe about the same time, you know. It's probably reasonable. I should be fair to myself that I'm not old as dirt. That's pretty old, but almost. So you guys can laugh at me all you want, but I've been around long enough to know a few things. My children don't think so all the time, though. After all, I'm their mother. And mothers don't know much, do they? That's okay. We managed to raise some pretty smart kids. So maybe mothers are not so useless after all. I mean, other than, you know, carrying you around for 9 months and then carrying you literally for another year or two. Another year till you learn to walk. Squawk. You learn to walk. And then run and jump and play. And then all of a sudden, before we mothers realized it, y'all were grown. Grown and gone. And working on your own streaming things. And I'm learning how to stream and do this because my daughter encouraged me to do so. I think she thinks I'm bored. But that's okay. I probably would be bored. I would be terribly bored if I didn't have something to do to keep me occupied. And I have this thing about creativity. You know, I do all kinds of things. I love to sew. That's a big one. Sewing. I'm working on some fun projects now with denim. We're going to make some dog clothes out of denim, which is really a fun idea. And we're doing everything, well, recycle, upcycle, reuse, don't waste. There, okay. I think I'm ready to begin the folding process. So we have to flip it over. And if you're wondering why it looks a little stiff, that's because the batting that is in it is basically ironed on. You sort of just put heat to it so that it'll stick in places, which makes it easier than when you're moving things around to get it to stay put. Okay, now we have to pin. A lot of pins. So I don't know how long this is gonna take. Maybe I'll just do part of this, get the pinning done, and then we'll save the rest for another day. I'm not sure. I get bored with myself. I certainly get bored with talking to myself. Okay. Looks like I'm gonna have to cut some more off here. I don't have enough room to fold it over the way I want to. I want to have at least an inch so I can fold over 1/4 of an inch and then fold it over again. So we got to cut some more off. This is all guesswork. This is just kind of, you know, do it as I'm going. And I'm a big person on eyeballing it. Now my daughter, she's very precise. Oh my goodness. I've seen her measure things. She uses all kinds of measuring tools. Of course I don't, because one, I don't have all those tools. But even if I had them, I probably wouldn't use them. Certainly not the way she does. She's awesome with that stuff. You'll have to check her out on hers. She does sewing, among many other things, leatherworking and gaming and all kinds of fun stuff that is very creative and very interesting and beautiful. There we go. Okay, that looks about right. That should give me enough. Let's cut that piece off. Okay, so I'm just going to worry about the top at the moment. Honestly, I kind of would prefer to iron this rather than just pin it, but I guess I'm just going to pin it. It'll be okay. It'll make a straight enough line. Straight, 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 they say, on the other side of the hill. Ouch! Blood. Oh dear. Okay, keep it, don't get it on the blanket, just keep it out of the way. Because blood doesn't necessarily wash out unless you use something like, well, hydrogen peroxide on it. Sometimes we'll take it out of most fabrics. Yeah, pin, 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 pin. Yeah, okay, it wasn't a very bad poke. It is pretty well stopped already, so it's not too bad. It wasn't too bad. Now I love my little pin holder here, this magnetic thing. I love that thing. A lot of people like the crazy tomatoes, which are cool. I have one, well, I had one for many, many years. But then when my daughter was in kindergarten, I think, she made me a pin holder out of a Pam spray cap, maybe, that they stuffed some mushy stuff inside of, and then glued some fabric over it to make a little cover. And I still have that. I keep straight needles in, not pins. There's a difference. You do know that, right? All of you out there. If you don't, then look it up. And a pin is a P-I-N, not a P-E-N. These are P-I-N's, pins. Whereas the P-E-N is the kind you write with. Most of you probably know that, and I'm just blathering away over here for my own entertainment. I do that a lot. Just walk around the house, talk to myself, or talk to the dog. Spencer's very good company. I didn't tell you the story of Spencer. Oh my goodness gracious. Spencer is an 11-year-old, purebred American Cocker Spaniel. And he was dumped at his vet's office. The same vet he had been going to for 11 years. They just brought him in one day and left him and never came back. Never came back to get him. He stayed in the vet's office for a month, locked in a cage, basically, locked in a crate for the whole month. And a rescue group got involved and called out for someone to volunteer to foster him. I have never fostered a pet before. I have owned plenty of pets, even owned lots of, Cocker Spaniels way back in the 1980s. Used to have black Cocker Spaniels. And when I rescued Spencer, I had a 16-year-old Australian Shepherd. She was a sweetheart. But she died not very long after I got Spencer. But Spencer came to stay with me, and I fell in love with him, so I adopted him. Which is all well and good, and I have no regrets. However, the reason they dumped him was, I'm assuming, because of his chronic ear infections. That's the problem with dogs that have long, floppy ears, is they tend very easily to get ear infections, and sometimes they're very hard to treat. And Spencer's went untreated or not properly treated for so many years that you couldn't get medicine in his ears anymore. In his left ear in particular, it was scar tissue so bad that you couldn't get any drops in there to treat the infection. So that suggests they do what is called a total ear canal ablation, which basically means they went in and they were going to remove the entire inside of the ear and then seal it up so that he would not have any more ear infections, which is all great and it's successful most of the time. But poor Spencer, he had a really, really terrible bug, super bug infection that was resistant to every antibiotic on the market except for one called amikacin, which required a hospital stay because it's a very terrible antibiotic from the standpoint of side effects. It's very bad on kidneys, liver, that sort of thing. So they have to give them a daily, whenever they give the medication, they have to flush their system. So he had to be hooked up to an IV the whole time that he was in there. But because the infection got so bad, his whole outside of his ear, the flap thing called the pinna, died, basically just became black and started pretty well just kind of falling off of his ear. So they had to amputate most of his ear. So he has a little tiny flap left now. And he is my inspiration for my little doggy clothing line that I'm calling the One-Eared Cocker. But he doesn't know that he only has one ear, and he doesn't care. He's happy, he's healthy, and that's really the only thing that's important, is that he's happy and he's healthy. And he's got no more ear infections. Well, not in that ear anyway. He will never have ear infections in that ear again. That is an absolute certainty. Yes, and I'm laughing because at this very moment, I am treating his other ear for an ear infection. So it's kind of an ongoing problem with the little Cocker Spaniels, or any dog with floppy ears. Unless you are extraordinarily diligent, and I thought I was being extraordinarily diligent, and yet here I am, as we speak, treating him for an ear infection in the only ear he has left. So we have to we just do what we need to do. Give him the medications down in the ear canal. And at the same time, he's just been finished treating for conjunctivitis. To humans, that's known as pink eye. It's where white parts of your eyeball get infected. Well, his was from allergies because his hair was too long and it was poking him in the eyes. It was so cute. I thought I was letting it grow out to kind of camouflage his missing ear. But because of all the pollen and everything in the air, what was happening was the hair was getting pollen into his eyes. Well, really it was just one eye. So we just got through treating him for that. So he's had a difficult medical course, but he's my baby now, and I will do whatever is necessary to take care of him, because he's my best buddy and my companion. He's over there sleeping in the hallway at the moment. Anyway, so you can see I'm just pinning this around the edges so that I can run a straight Just run a little hem all the way around it on the machine, not by hand. And no, it's not going to be perfectly even. All of you people out there with a ruler, please don't measure it. The dog won't care. The dog won't care, and this is good practice for me before I tackle some of Mom's more precious left pieces that are actually quite beautiful and really deserve to be quilted properly. So there we have both front, top and bottom pinned and ready to go. And we have to make the corners over here. Let's see, corners. You can do a diamond fold down. Let me see how that's going to work. Fold the corner. Oh yeah, that'll work. I call that a diamond fold, but I'll see if I can show you a little bit better on the other side. I just want to see if it was going to work. Put that pin down there because you don't want a flat, square-looking corner thing. But here's what I'll show you what I did if I can get this where you can see it. Okay, corner. All right. So I'm gonna take. It doesn't really matter which one you do. You can start with this piece, and I'm gonna fold it down. See that? I folded it into a little triangle. I don't know if how well you can see that. Then I'm gonna take this side and make my other fold. It's a little bit wide over here, so I'm just gonna make my other little fold like that. And pin it down, and that's going to make a nice look. How sweet, clean corners, just like that. Well, the rest of this is pretty boring. Just gonna keep pinning and stop talking. I'm not sure because I'm doing this on my cell phone, and so I can't see if anybody's paying attention or watching or anything like that. I need to bring a computer monitor in here. I think that probably solved that problem. But there we go. Okay. Well, you can see what I'm going to do. I'll do another live feed when I get ready to sew. Although that's going to be a lot of fun because the sewing machine makes a fair amount of racket, and so there won't be much talking or hearing while the sewing machine is going, but you can still send chat messages or whatever. So anyway, here you go. First episode of Sewing with Spencer. Bye. See you next time.